Hello, and we're live for the Mirror Gaming walkthrough. Welcome once again. We've got some great topics here for you today. We've got Mario movie reaction. A couple of the guys have seen the Mario movie, so we're going to be reacting to that. We'll also be talking about the Fortnite crossover with Attack on Titan, which is really exciting. The Call of Duty Warzone 2 Season 3 update is about to drop today. How exciting as well. Nintendo wants to subpoena Discord. What's that all about? We'll also be talking about not potentially, there is going to be a new Zelda Tears of the Kingdom trailer tomorrow, the final trailer. We'll be talking about our thoughts on that as well, all in this week's show. Roll that intro, Will.
Everyone thinks he or she is the best football expert on the planet.
I'm just playing for pride now. And my pride's gone.
We're very passionate people here.
Oh, well, hello.
We're ready to come for the W, yeah?
These girls will smoke you, man.
Yeah. And joining me on the show today, I'm delighted to have a couple of my esteemed colleagues with me. First of all, I'm delighted to be joined by Matt Aldus. Matt, how you doing? You okay? Nice to see you.
Think I've frozen.
Good stuff. Yeah, your mouth is not moving, but
Yeah,
say hello
my mouth
anyway.
is not moving.
You look very moody to be on the podcast.
I was concentrating on something else. Hold on, I'm gonna have to go away and come back. I'm so sorry.
That's
sorry
fine.
for
Nice to
this.
see you, Matt. Nice to see you. Lewis Barton, thank you so much for joining us, Lewis. How are you doing, mate? You okay?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, as always, I'm very happy to be on this. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. And we've got a very special guest again. Scott, our esteemed colleague, is here to talk about Mario, Fortnite, and a couple of other bits. Scott, thank you so much for joining us. I know your fingers are on fire from typing up some of the patch notes for Warzone 2 Season 3. So thank you so much for coming on to talk about Mario. How are you doing today, Scott?
Yeah, good. They need to stop releasing these things when it's inconvenient for me, because it's all about me. There's Matt looking very handsome and smoldery again with his look. But yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm happy to talk about the Mario movie because everyone around me is getting tired of me talking about it. So it'll be good to deal with that. Have another few people deal with that. So.
That's absolutely fine with us. We're happy to hear your thoughts. Absolutely, Scott. And yeah, it would be really nice if major publishers stopped releasing news when the walkthrough's on. It's just really inconvenient for all of us, really. So any major publishers are listening, just wait an hour or so until we finish, and then we'll get on it, guys. So thank you very much. Matt has done his disappearing act again, so I'm sure we'll have him back in a bit. But he hasn't seen the Mario movie. But two people that have are Scott and Lewis. So thank you so much for being here to talk about that. Obviously, it's broken box office records. Some of the reaction has been quite mixed with the community. I don't know. Scott, do you want to go first? Initial thoughts overall? What's your takeaway?
Yeah, so as a nearly 30-year-old man, I am the prime demographic for this movie from the makers of The Minions. But really, no, I absolutely loved it. It's a weird one. I can't really be impartial on it because it's as a movie, it's just a kind of standard kids movie, but as like a Mario movie, they got everything so perfect in it. All the small details, all the way people move, all the references, the soundtrack's phenomenal. It's the most biased I've ever been with a movie, where I just love it so much that I'm willing to see past all of the kind of, I wouldn't say there's any major faults, but there are faults there, but it's just such a love letter to Mario. And it's not like, movies like the new Ghostbusters, I've never seen it, so I could be wrong here, but the trailer seemed to be like, remember Ghostbusters 1 and nothing else this franchise has done? Whereas with the Mario movie, it's everything. Like, this movie could have just been like, remember the 80s? Remember Mario Kart 1? But no, it's like Mario 64. They released one of the trailers, so I can talk about this, where it's the theme song to like the Super Show cartoon. There's like references to like the Famicom Disk System mascot in there. It's like everything, not just Mario Kart, not just Mario Brothers, everything over the 40 years Mario's been about. So it's like, it just I'm just catching feelings for it. I'm just so overwhelmed with how much love it has for it because it's how I feel. I'm like, there's the thing I like, but there's the other thing I like. You know, it's hard to not be biased with this one, I'll say.
And I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's great to see someone just have kind of those emotions from a movie really that you're so connected to. Lewis, I know you're not an avid gamer generally, but what were your thoughts as someone who maybe not as like interconnected to the Mario franchise?
Yeah, I mean, I've played a bit of the Mario franchise, not as much as Scott, but I went with someone who hasn't really touched it apart from, a bit of Mario Kart on the Wii every now and then. And I think we both really liked it. I thought, like Scott said, it went over an array of different games in the Mario universe and stuff. And again, like Scott mentioned, the soundtrack I thought was really, really good. Even as someone who's only played a bit of the game, or a few games, you could recognize nearly every single sound you heard from those games, and I think it was just a great little like throwback to each one, and it got you excited for what's going to happen next, like it would in the game. When say you're in Mario Kart and the track's loading up and as plays that little bit of music beforehand, it was sort of like that. Every single scene, it was a new thing to look forward to. So I really enjoyed it, and it was just a really fun movie. I think I was really impressed with Illumination as well, because they've had a few films recently which haven't, done well. They've tried things and it's just been very childish in a way. And obviously, it's an animation film, it's a kids' film, that's their audience. But this is one of those films where, people like me, our age group and demographic, can appreciate it as well.
Yeah, I've heard some really good things about the soundtrack overall. So much so that people are finding the soundtrack on like music platforms like Spotify and Apple to try and like just listen to the soundtrack as that. Yeah, Scott's one of those rising sound. Yeah, is that one of the standout pieces? Do you think of the movie? Because it's such a big thing, isn't it? The soundtrack of a movie, it can really kind of help like make a movie, or if it's poor, it can just make it feel a little less special. What's your thoughts, Scott?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's one of the, even for the people who aren't liking this movie, that is like the thing that is like, this is perfect. Don't touch it in any way. There is some issues where there are a few licensed songs in there. So like, kind of 80s and 90s tunes. There's a really ill-fitting AC/DC song in there. So that's a bit weird. But the actual score, I think his name is Brian Tyler. I have the soundtrack here. Yeah, Brian Tyler. He worked with Koji Kondo to kind of make his own unique score. There's like a theme in this movie that's like the theme to the Mario Brothers movie, but it's not got anything to do with the games. But like, there's just scenes like, for example, when they go to see the Donkey Kong characters, there's like a little tiny sting of the Jungle Japes theme from Donkey Kong Country. When he gets a certain suit, they play a theme from Mario 3 alongside of that. So like, it's all woven in so nicely. It's not just like random stings out of nowhere. There's a scene they showed off, I want to say it was at the Game Awards, and even just watching that tiny scene, you pick out stuff from like Bob on Battlefield, Mario 64, and the Mario World theme. It's weird. It doesn't feel cheap, but it's like, every couple of seconds you're like, there's a thing. I recognize that tune. And it's done so well. The one thing I will say is there's a scene in the Donkey Kong bit where a certain Aha song plays. Now, I know we're all super fans of Aha, I know loads of their songs, but that plays. Turns out that replaced a song in the soundtrack that used some of the Donkey Kong music. And since finding that out, I've been so upset because the Donkey Kong soundtrack is so good, and they cut possibly the best song in the soundtrack. And I don't know if I should talk about it, but it's kind of out the bag now. They've been advertising it. Jack Black has a song in there. A bit of a love ballad that seems to be popping off. I mean, just looking at Spotify right now, all the songs are sitting at about like 100,000 plays or like lower, whereas this song is up at 2,600,000 plays. So, people are loving the Jack Black song. It's very Jack Black. He killed it in the role. He kind of fit it perfectly. there's maybe one person who wasn't so amazing in their role, but Jack Black, Charlie Day killed it.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Jack Black. Was going to be my next question in terms of the casting. Obviously, there's a lot of it's not a spoiler, is it? The fact that he does a song, but people thought that maybe it was or it wasn't. So I'm trying to keep as much out of it as possible. But I've heard such good things about his rendition of this particular song. But just overall in general, obviously we know that about Jack Black anyway. We knew when he was cast that he could bring that sort of thing to the role. But in terms of his overall performance as Bowser, what did you make of that, both to Scott and Lewis as well?
So it's telling that, or not telling, you can tell that Jack Black is a voice actor. You know, a lot of the other cast, like Charlie Day, Charlie Day didn't need to do anything. He already sounds like what you'd imagine Luigi sounds like. But Jack Black's been a voice actor in like Kung Fu Panda and like Psychonauts and loads of other games and stuff like that. So he brings like a certain oomph to it that is maybe like he's the standout performance. He's good at like the comedic moments because it's, you know, as a kids movie, they're not going to have Bowser be this big monster, but when he has to be scary, he is, because Jack Black's just so good at the role.
Yeah.
No one's bad except for one of the side characters. Even our favorite boy, Chris Pratt, he's fine. He's okay. He's kind of bland. I don't know what Lewis thinks about some of the voice acting.
Yeah,
in the
I think
film,
Jack Black was phenomenal. Yeah, I think it's one of those where you know it's Jack Black, you can hear it's Jack Black, but it still suits it so well, and it doesn't bother you because like there's sometimes I feel like where the voice actors, and you're like they're too like familiar for that role. As this one, I think it actually played into the character of Bowser better. Yeah, the whole Bowser thing. I guess it's sort of a spoiler because let's be honest, I think going into that film, I wasn't expecting to hear a Jack Black Bowser like ballad, and it was funny to see. So I won't go too much into that to try and keep the surprise of it a bit, I guess. But and I thought Chris Pratt was actually really good. I think I like the route they took of both Mario and Luigi not being Italian, and it was the New York Italian, which means they could speak more in an American accent and just sort of do like a Brooklyn accent, which is probably easier and more bearable for the whole time you're watching it, rather than that really like, you know, stereotypical Italian voice. And there is one scene in the film where they do put on the Italian voice, and I do feel like that was just like a look, I can do it, leave me alone, I'm not as bad as you make out to be.
Yeah.
So I think, the hate beforehand, I sort of understood because in the trailer you didn't know what you were getting. You didn't know, is that him trying to do an Italian accent? And it just sounds nothing like it. As now, when you watch the film, you understand it and you're like, okay, actually, he did a good job.
Yeah. Just before we go any further, thank you so much everyone watching. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, or TikTok, if you're on TikTok, thank you so much for watching. Come over to YouTube. It's a much better experience. You can see all of us on the screen, and producer Will is expertly moving our cameras around all the time. So get onto YouTube and you can leave a comment and stuff as well. We've got some comments in the chat though. Adam L says, if Pedro Pascal isn't playing Mario babysitting Toad, then no thanks. Connor O'Neill's in the chat. Hi Connor. Mario movies Kino. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that. Am I missing something? I don't really understand that reference, but yeah. Rocking Games Kids also watching. Hi mate. He says Charlie Day's Luigi was perfect, which is really interesting. The thing I want to talk about is Chris Pratt, because in the trailer, I remember me and Matt had a extensive conversation on the phone when that trailer was first announced, and I was like, that can't be his voice. That can't be his voice. That's just Chris Pratt. And I was kind of getting a bit worked up around, like, he's not trying to be Mario, and Mario's an Italian plumber. So I was getting a little bit worked up. But does that matter, Scott? I think Lewis was talking about the fact that he's not putting on the Italian accent is kind of better. How do you feel about Chris Pratt's voice in this movie?
I think he's surrounded by better actors, is what I'll say. I mean, the only voice that stood out to me, I've kind of alluded to it, is Cranky Kong's voice, where it was Fred Armisen who played him, and he just sounded dead young, which for an old man isn't right. Chris Pratt, he's fine. He's just like a kind of, it's like a normal Brooklyn accent. It's Mario, you know. It's no frills. It's just kind of the guy, you know. I will say a lot better than he was in the trailers. I know that first trailer where it's like him and he meets Toad.
Yeah.
There's like a line at the end of that. It was like Mushroom Kingdom, here we come, or something like that, and it sounded atrocious.
Yes.
So that line's not in the movie, thankfully, but it's nothing. It's nowhere near as bad as that as it is, and like the movie, it works. I wouldn't call him the highlight. You know, I still don't really, love him, but like Rocking Games had said, Charlie Day is perfect as Luigi, because when you hear, Charlie Day's playing Luigi, you can picture that right away.
Yeah.
Same way with Jack Black and Bowser, you can like picture it. I will say Chris Pratt put more into his performance than Seth Rogen did. And I believe Seth Rogen literally said in an interview, if you hire me for a movie, I'm not going to do a voice. So if you want me as Donkey Kong, you want me as Donkey Kong. Which, like, I respect that. Good on him. He knows what he wants to do. But, that is literally Seth Rogen. I liked him, but, he did not put the effort in as Donkey Kong.
Yeah, that was, Seth Rogen was just Seth Rogen. You heard the Seth Rogen laugh multiple times as well. And again, that sort of caught me out. But I thought they might want to hold back on that a bit. But I guess that plays into the whole, if you have Seth Rogen in a film, you're going to get the Seth Rogen laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious whether, because Scott, you mentioned the trailer, and that's what I was referring to when I talked about. Hi, Matt. Matt's back. If anyone's keeping tabs on Matt and disappearing. Hi, back. Matt. How's it going, mate? But me and Matt had an extensive chat, and I started to repeat myself, but I was saying that cannot be his voice, because it was so like over the top, trying too hard. Do you think they re-record the fact that line wasn't in the movie is very telling? I didn't know that. Do you think that they had to go back after that trailer and re-record some lines and do it slightly differently? Do you have a feeling that they might have done that?
Maybe, because the accent in the trailer is actually different to how it was in the film.
Yeah.
It was a lot more like high pitched, I guess, in the trailer, and it sounded like an American trying to do an Italian accent poorly, or like he was caught in between. Am I going to do a New York, like a Brooklyn accent, or am I doing an Italian one?
Yeah.
So I it makes sense that they did, because it got such backlash. I feel like any production company, if they saw that backlash, they'd say, oh, okay, well, maybe we should change a few lines I'm not sure on. Because I can't remember a scene in the film where I was thinking, oh, that doesn't sound very good. And like I said, if it was that typical Mario voice, I think for the whole hour and a half of the film, 2 hours of the film, I think it would have got a bit irritating. So I'm glad they went down the route of the Brooklyn accent.
I think he did say, didn't he? He did say that his first voice that he did was Tony Soprano, and then they asked him to change it afterwards, which makes a lot of sense in terms of how you would kind of go into that. But it's just interesting to me watching that trailer if it was going to be any different. But yeah, I mean, another thing I've heard about is the storyline and the fact that it's the story's a little bit fluffy, to put it kindly, a little bit what's the word, a bit empty. Is that something that you both agree with? A bit Mario. Well, yeah, is that Mario? Is that what Mario is all about?
I think it's now they've done this film, they can turn it into multiple films and multiple different like storylines, I feel.
Is this the origin? Is this the origin story?
Yeah, it was.
Is this what it is?
It genuinely was. Like, it was, how did they end up meeting these people? How did Mario and Luigi, these plumbers, end up, being involved with Bowser and Donkey Kong and stuff? Yeah. And it was like an origin story in a way. And to me, now I'm looking back on it and I'm thinking, if they were to make 2, 3, 4 films out of this again, spin-offs, they could easily do so many spin-offs because there's so many characters to go down to cover. Yeah. if you watch like 4 in a row in the future, then you would watch the first one as like the character building episode. Who's this? Who's that? Why are they the way they are? And I feel like now you might think, oh, it's a bit of an empty storyline, and it is a bit. But then if you're down the line, you'll understand why they're maybe trying to do that. If they're trying to bring in a new audience.
Yeah. Scott, do you agree with that? Do you think it's a bit of an origin story as films go?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I alluded to it earlier. There's some elements of the Super Show in there. I don't know if anyone watched that, but the kind of how did these two people from Brooklyn get to the Mushroom Kingdom? That is your first act of the movie. Kind of acclimatizing themselves to their new location. I mean, there's rumors that a Donkey Kong movie starring Seth Rogen's already in production, and there are seeds there. Like they've created this kind of. It feels like a proper world, like they've made this kind of big, vibrant world that you can easily build off of because there's like the Kong Island and the Darklands where Bowser hangs out in the Mushroom Kingdom. So they have things there that could potentially set up these like new movies and projects that could even outside of Mario, like I said, Donkey Kong's rumored to be already in production, and they've got like Donkey Kong characters in there already, So it works as a introduction to this world. I mean, I don't think many people need to be introduced to like Mario. He's obviously like super popular, but
Yeah.
It's not like killing Uncle Ben off in Spider-Man for the third time. It's not like seeing Batman's parents die for the 19th time. It is, it knows what Mario is, but it's just like here's a quick explanation. Here's Mario becoming part of this world, and then here's your big climax. It's not not going to win any writing Oscars except maybe for music, but and also it's a kids movie. Like it's a kids movie by Illumination. I know kids movies are getting better with stuff like Puss in Boots and all that, but we're talking about the Minion guys, and we're talking about a game series that didn't really have much of a story to begin with.
Yeah.
So I think for what they've done, they've got the important stuff that looks gorgeous, the music's really good, and it's fun. It may not be deep or like thoughtful, but it's just a fun time to sit for 90 minutes and look at.
Yeah,
I did see some reviews actually. Oh, sorry. I did see some reviews and it actually calling it lazy at times as well, where they did just say like a lot of people do mix up like familiarizing something to fun, like seeing something from a game. Oh my god, like you recognize it, and then they sort of mistook that for, oh, I'm having a good time. This is actually a really fun movie. And I sort of understand that in a way, but at the same time, if you're making a Super Mario Bros. Film, you're going to put everything you can in from the games because that's the whole point. And it's always this like discussion we've had where, games which are turned to TV shows or films, are they too similar to the games? Are they not similar enough? And you're always going to have that argument of people arguing either side. So I personally, I think it was a fun film, but I can understand why people would maybe not be didn't enjoy it too much if they're looking at it from more of like an actual, like, I'm going to judge this perspective.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Producer Will, sorry, Scott. Producer Will just sent a message. It's got 57% tomato meter on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm guessing, in terms of like critical reviews, but then 96% audience score, which is a really interesting split, which you kind of would expect from a film like this. Matt, obviously, I think this is the longest we've been on a video call together with you not saying anything. So
I know, I've just been listening.
I feel really weirded out, but just from what Lewis and Scott have said, does this make you want to see the film more, or like how do you feel about it now you've had these guys explain it?
Honestly, first off, just enjoying the rest. That's really, really. But it's interesting to hear, like, because I've not seen it. To be honest, I've not really had a big desire to watch it either. Like my son's not quite at the age where I could sit down and watch a full film with him. So maybe I would watch it. If I'm going to watch it, it's still probably just going to be for work purposes, so that I'm sort of clued in. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like pretty much what I'd expect from that film. Like, it sounds like what Lewis and Scott are saying is pretty much what you'd expect. You're not like, you can't go around expecting the world from an animated film about, you know, a game that was very popular, but like Scott mentioned, didn't have much of a story to begin with. So to be able to create that story and try and do like make an animated film that it's not going to be Into the Spider-Verse or like something like that, where it was like there was some sort of critical acclaim to that, and it's just not that. It's not in that realm of possibility. Not that like it should or shouldn't be. It's just that's not what that product is as a movie.
Yeah, it's restricted to their world, isn't it?
Yeah. And you're not going to make any like new sort of you're not going to go like and recreate the look of the characters, and it's not, you know, it's not a Marvel film where you're going to update the costumes and stuff. They're very iconic. It's all has to be like the same, recognizable, and I wouldn't really expect much from it anyway. So I don't think I would be disappointed by it. I think the interesting thing about Seth Rogen is he was in the live action Lion King, right?
Yeah.
Which he's got to watch out how many voiceover parts he does if he's just going to play himself. Because if his voice becomes synonymous with his character in Mario or Pumbaa in The Lion King, then like there's no room for like anything else for him in terms of voiceover acting. So it almost feels like if his stance was, I'm just going to do my own voice, which is fine, but it's all that to me just feels like he just did it for a paycheck, which isn't in the best interest of the film. And I think you could have got a million other people, maybe not a million. I don't know how many voiceover actors there are, but you could have found some really good voice actors that really could have brought something very unique to that character. So, but again, I haven't seen it, so I can't really pass that comment too harshly. But that would be and Charlie Day, he already sounds like a cartoon. So
yeah,
so it's you know, that's not a hard cast. I think Chris Pratt is another odd choice, just because of the fact that I do think that in terms of I mean, he's done good work with like the Lego movies and stuff, but other than that, like I think that there probably would have been better casting to sort of like rival with Jack Black and Charlie Day and whoever else was in it.
Yeah, I'm just there's a couple more comments. Connor's hi again, mate. He says that, the Guardian gave it 1 out of 5. Lol, must have been a Sonic fan. I do have a rule with the Guardian, and it's nothing like I'm not saying it to be like it's not backhanded or anything, but just
I have a
because we
general
work for
rule.
a competitive
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
I've lived with this rule all my life with the Guardian. Whenever they review something, if they score it low, I'll probably enjoy it. If they score it high, I probably won't like it. Like that's my general rule with the Guardian, and I find it's true 90% of the time.
It's just interesting, isn't it? It's just really interesting how different people review it. The Guardian says familiarity replaces fun with this for the mustachioed Italian plumber in this joyless adaptation from the Nintendo franchise. Ouch. So yeah, they weren't a fan. Adam's also in the chat as well. Come on, Matt, go watch it. I want to hear the critique about how the circumference of the tunnels are too small to fit Mario through while turning on a corner or something. Absolutely, we need a Matt TikTok on the Mario movie. Absolutely.
I will. All right. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I will. I'll find the plot holes. Don't worry.
Please. Yeah. Someone called Scott McRae is also in the chat. Hi, Scott. Thanks for coming in. Says put Goku in the Mario movie. Interesting.
That's a great idea. Whoever said
idea,
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like I've heard that comment before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that comment has been the word Goku has been in every YouTube chat that we've done. I mean, I'm happy about that, but you know, Skyriff is also in the chat. Skyriff is also in the chat. When's the Fortnite movie coming out? Thanks, Skyriff. And Adam L with a very interesting take. How funny would it be with Joey Diaz as Mario? I mean, would it be funny? I'm not sure. It would probably be very strange. I don't know. Funny. It depends what your sense of humor is like, I suppose. Adam,
I want to see Joe Pasquale do it.
Joe Pasquale. Well,
I don't. I actually don't.
It'd be an interesting Toad. I feel like.
Scott, I'm sorry, I cut you off when I was talking about Joey Diaz. Carry on.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say the Guardian gave Sonic the Hedgehog 2 a 3 out of 5. So
right, okay.
And Sonic the Hedgehog 1 a 2 out of 5. So when it gets to like Mario 4, that's going to be the sweet spot. They're going to 5 stars.
4 out of 5.
Cried 10 times at those.
They just got to make 5 Mario movies and then they'll get a 5-star review. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm just hoping they don't find a way to, combine the worlds of Mario and Minions.
It'd be perfect, wouldn't it? To their credit, I was fully expecting like the Koopas or the Goombas or someone to be like the Minion equivalent of this movie, just like the funny wee guys to do stupid slapstick stuff. But they kind of relented from that. I mean, there's the bit in the trailer where a Koopa gets taken out by a snowball, but that's about it. Like there's no funny little merchandise character in the Mario movie. So aside from Mario and Luigi and Toad and the rest of them, but they did kind of hold back on some of that typical Illumination flair. There is a minion at the start of the movie for their logo though, so
yeah. Big Cow Games, hi, thanks so much for coming into the YouTube video. He says Mario Kart and Luigi's Mansion movies will be amazing. I think that's the point we're making, isn't it? This is the origin movie that sets up potentially other movies like Mario Kart, which I've seen a little bit in the trailer. There is a little bit of that in there. Luigi's Mansion. You talk about the Donkey Kong and Bowser. How we could like go into that a little bit more as well. They could literally go anywhere with this. So yeah, excited to see where they take it. But thank you so much, Scott. Really appreciate you joining us. I know you've seen it 3 times, I think you said. So you're the right person to come on.
Not yet. Twice.
Oh, twice. Maybe. Sorry.
I still haven't seen John Wick 2 either, so John Wick 4 either, so I definitely have a problem.
I was gonna say, if you haven't seen John Wick 2, you're way behind, mate.
Yeah. At least now I could expense my movie tickets as tax write-offs because I've been on here. So
absolutely. Thank you so much, Scott, for joining us. I know you've got stuff to do with Warzone and stuff coming out. But thank you so much for joining us as well. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, Scott.
Cool. See you.
Cheers. And that brings us on to our next topic. Brilliant segue, which is that Call of Duty Warzone 2 Season 3 update is coming. It is expected to arrive at around 5 o'clock to download, and then it will launch at 6, so not long to go yet, just a couple of hours. We've got so many changes coming for the new Season 3 update. You've got a new Gulag. You've got a new mode called Massive Resurgence, which is set in Al Mazrah for 150 players. You've got the Intervention Sniper returning, which is called the FGX Imperium. It's like a reimagining of the classic Intervention from Modern Warfare 2. Plus, they're making snipers one shot with a certain amount of ammunition, which is something I'm really excited about personally. There's going to be some movement changes in terms of how you mantle, balance changes with the weapons. There's loads of DMZ changes as well. Matt, I know you did a TikTok a little bit earlier on about Warzone 2 and about how they're hemorrhaging players. Because just kind of everyone's like angry about the game. Everyone's got something they hate about the game. I feel like I say this in every single content update, but like, how much is riding on this? Because it feels like if the longer they take to get it right, to get this content update right, the worse it'll be. But it does feel like they've kind of listened to the community with this sniper. That people didn't like the gulag, they've changed the gulag. People didn't like the movement, they've changed the movement. People didn't like, wanting resurgence on Al Mazrah, so listen. So they're listening now. Is it too late, do you think?
Well, I think that I've been thinking about this for a little while actually, and I think the first thing is the Call of Duty community are probably, I mean, I'm probably going to get in a lot of trouble for saying this, but they're probably one of the most fickle communities out there. Like, we will all moan and complain about the game, whatever happens, and we will, the moment there's a new game out, we will go and hope and pray that one is the one that revives the franchise. And we hoped it with MW2, we hoped it with Warzone 2, and so I even if Warzone 2 just continues to fall into the ground and or off the cliff or wherever it actually is, I think that there will be something down the line and we'll all come running back to it. Like, there's just that we're a complicated type of fan, like a Call of Duty fan. It's always a love-hate relationship. They're never going to get it right all the time, and obviously there's a lot of moving parts with it now. So I do think that even if Warzone 2 were to sort of, they were to completely backtrack and just be like, this it's just not ever going to work, there'll be something down the line that will draw us all back in at some point. That said, I don't necessarily think that it's either a defining moment or a defining moment in any way, shape or form, really. I think there are a huge bunch of people that are fed up of waiting, and they don't care what they do at this point. They're like, it's already too late. If they manage to improve it throughout the year, by the end of the year they might be like, the curiosity might get the better of them. They might go and play it, they might enjoy it, they might come back to it, and it might pick up again. But in general, I just don't think, I think there's a huge part of the fan base that are just like done with it. They don't want to touch it for a year, or they don't want to touch it again because it's just angered them too much. They've had their heart broken by it too many times in a row, and they're just done with it at this point. And then there's some people that will not like the update for the fact that they were enjoying how it was, the remaining 250,000 active daily players that they had, or whatever the specific number is. And then you've got like people probably like I would call myself, who I've played it a little bit over the last few weeks, sort of preparing for season 3, just to sort of try and get my edge back a little bit, because I haven't played it for months, since the day that Warzone 2 came out, pretty much, and it's not been not enjoyable. It's a really, I've not enjoyed it, but I've not been like, this game is great, like, and it's given me the same sort of feeling. So I don't know how much really hinges on this update. I think for some people it's already too late. For someone like me, if it's really bad, like if they're promising all this stuff and then it's another big failure and nothing works, and they fix the mantle but the mantle's actually worse, and like, because we've had history of that before, and I think like that will be a point where it will sort of be like, I'm really gonna have to weigh up whether or not I just want to join the rest of those people that have just like had done with it for the time being. So I think it could save some people, and I think it could, if it gets probably the right like streamers back on board, and some of the people that were promoting it, because I know that a lot of the sort of whatever you call the casual player, like they don't like the fact that streamers moan about it and then they make changes, and there's like a bit of contention there. So but I do think if the right streamers come back on board and they're raving about it, then their fan bases are more likely to give it a go again, and that'll help recoup some of the numbers. But I think in general, there's not a lot they can do, bar probably in the short term. And this is just my opinion. I'm not saying this is the right thing to do, but in the short term, if they wanted like a short-term fix while they were trying to sort stuff out, bringing the maps into Warzone 1 and the modes into Warzone 1, and then turning Warzone 2 off, and then fixing it like completely, just working on it for the rest of the year, and then launch it again like come beginning of 2024. It would be embarrassing, but I think it would be the only thing that would bring bigger numbers back.
Yeah,
because a lot of people are already just like, their hearts have been broken too many times.
Yeah. Big Cow Games back in the chat says this is the biggest update. If they fail, it's over. So Big Cow Games is got a lot riding on this. I think I'm in a similar boat to you, Matt, in terms of I enjoy it when I play it, but I don't find myself craving it, like really wanting to play it all the time. But what I will say is that with the one-shot snipers coming back, the return of the intervention, even though it's a different name, it's obviously the same weapon from a classic Modern Warfare 2. That does make me want to play it again. And I think
because you were always a big sniper,
but a lot of content creators used to rely on sniping compilations. That was a huge driver for views because of how much of a skill that is to snipe someone from long distance, and getting a sniper kill is a lot more. What's the word? It's a lot more fancy than a normal kill. It feels like you're showing off a little bit.
I think Nick Merckx put it the best when he said, "Getting us like sniping is like slam dunks in the NBA."
Yeah.
Like that's what sniping is. It's like they don't happen all the time. You don't hit all of your shots, but when you do, it's a special moment.
Yes.
And for people that snipe, taking that away completely was just like such a bad move, like entirely. I think the whole
class of weapons was unusable. Like, why would you use a sniper if you can't one-shot someone?
And I
think it doesn't make sense.
I think the fact that they've brought it back as one shot down rather than one shot dead is far better, because
if you're fully plated, if you've only got one plate, you will.
Of course, but I think that sort of goes without saying in that respect. But like, at least if you one shot down and you've got a chance to revive because there's distance between you and the sniper. But if it brings back some quick scoping, I enjoyed watching those video compilations. I enjoyed like the content that it created. I think the biggest thing for me is the fluidity of the movement rather than whether they bring back the snipers, because when you watch some Warzone 2 footage of like a team wipe, say, and then you go and watch a team wipe from Warzone 1, from Rebirth, from like Verdansk, whatever, the difference is just night and day. It's so huge. The Warzone 2 just looks boring. It just looks boring to watch. Even if the movement is good, it's just still so slow and boring. And it's not to do with like slide cancelling and being able to abuse the movement. It's just the fact that there's nothing athletic about it. That was always what drew me to Warzone. There was like this athletic feeling to being able to pull off like a move and break someone's camera. And nowadays it's just, you haven't even got a chance to react because the TTK, like Big Cow Games says there, or Dave as I know him.
Oh, hi, Dave. I didn't know that was your name. But...
like the TTK it needs addressing. So they could fix everything, but if the TTK is still like you get shot and you still haven't really got any time to react or like at all, then again, like it leaves you in a really sticky place with as a player, because you just like there's so much luck involved of just hoping you don't even get shot, because you can't, there's no skill to outplay if you start getting shot. But it's a really, really hard thing to quantify, because some of us are bad players, some of us are okay players, some of us are brilliant players, and some of us are just out of this world. And for each tier of player, those problems are vastly different. Like the TTK for someone who's phenomenal, who is like, you know, you've got these 6 KD players, and they're probably able to adjust to it a lot more easily than I can, because I'm like a 1.5 KD player.
Well, it showed when me and Jasmine streamed a couple of weeks ago. We streamed the St. Patrick's Day event, and it was her first time playing Warzone, and she was surprised at how quickly she was eliminated.
Jasmine's used to Fortnite, right?
Fortnite, and then I play Fortnite. TTK. Yeah, and I play Fortnite, and I really enjoyed that, because it gives you
there's a
chance to stay in the fight. Exactly, yeah. So it's always going to be a difficult balance. But let me read you some of the patch notes, because we've got the patch notes now. So this is breaking news off the press. You can go to mirror.co.uk/gaming to get the full story. But this is just a summary. So in terms of there's mantle assist improvements. We've improved the system that would allow players to mantle over or through objects such as windows. So they've talked about that. There's also, they talked about weapons. There's no TTK mentions. But what they do say, Activision, is Season 3's changes add more responsiveness to movement and fluidity of combat, including a reduction to the intensity of damage feedback, e.g. camera shake and HUD overlays. We've also decreased the magnitude on some of the more punitive attachments. We feel this will result in an expansion in attachment viability and will enable a broader spectrum of playstyles to excel, including a change to explosive ammo, which allows bolt-action sniper rifles to down players in one shot. As we head into Season 3 Reloaded, we'll be keeping a close eye on weapons, equipment, kill streaks, and other mechanics to ensure fair, fun, and strategically rich gameplay. In the context of the below changes, when a minimum... Oh, that's not nothing to do with it. How do you feel about that? There was a lot of clever words in that statement.
Yeah, it sounds a lot of like we haven't really done anything about the TTK.
You're so pessimistic. I love it.
Like that's what that sounds like to me. Really is.
Yeah.
But again, like those things could.
But
make
a lot of
big
the
impact.
weapons have been. If we go through the gameplay changes in terms of weapon rebalancing, a lot of them have been reduced. The word reduced appears a lot. The only weapons increased appears is the guns that no one uses. So, for example, like STB 556 headshot damage increase. Like, who cares about that?
Everyone's going to be using that now.
Yeah, but that might only put it up to a normal level, and then you got like the FTAC recon.
I don't know.
It
was pretty OP to begin with. I think.
What, the STB?
That gun, yeah.
Oh, really?
That's the one that looks a bit like the AUG, isn't it? The LMG. Or is it the
No, that's the RAL you're on about, I think.
No. It looks like the AUG. The STB, I'm sure.
The STB, it's like a little, like it's got like a little muzzle on it. That sort of gun.
Yeah, the handle is like, I can't explain it.
But then mid-range damage has been reduced, so kind of swinging roundabouts, I suppose. Adam's in the chat. Hi, mate. Since I watched Nathan first time in Fortnite, I've started playing it and played a few games daily. With the new content, I have no interest in trying out Warzone. That's really interesting. I actually, Adam, to be honest, mate, I feel like playing before this new update. I've had a few, like, when I sit down at my PC and play like Elden Ring, which I've been doing recently, because I'm just addicted to that game, I have felt like, oh, shall I boot up Fortnite up? Like, I have thought about that a few times, and I thought, oh no, I'm on my own. Like, you know, won't be fun or whatever. Way more than I would on Warzone. That's really interesting. How since watching me first time playing it, so you know, thank you for watching first of all. Skyrift is also in the chat as well. Big Fortnite win, yeah. I suppose it is getting me to play it. And then Dave is back in the chat. Fortnite is so much more fun. I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's the fun element. And that's where, if snipers really are one shot, it'll be way more fun for me to play, especially solos as well, because my play style is very long range, so it's not fun for me to be involved in those close range fights. But I'm very aware that Lewis hasn't been involved in this conversation, but I think there's a very good point that Lewis can come up in and have a word in as well, because I think that FIFA, or should I say EA Sports FC, is in the same boat. Because if you don't like Warzone, okay, Fortnite's different to Warzone. It's a third person shooter. It's way different to Call of Duty. It's not in the same category. So if we just get rid of Fortnite for a minute, if you're a Warzone player and you like that sort of game, what are you playing?
It's just nothing else.
And it's the same with EA Sports FC, or FIFA as it is currently known, where there is no real competitor. You've got eFootball from Konami. Yep. You've got UFL, which isn't out yet. You've got Goals, which isn't out yet, which is a lot of promise over. But it does feel like the FIFA community and the Call of Duty community have got a lot in common, because they want the game to be as the best it can be. That's why they get so angry, because they feel like they want the game to be the best they can be, but they've got no alternative, so they have to play it. Is that sort of how?
It is. It's exactly what you're saying, really. I think, you know, if you're a Warzone player, I think the reputation is on the line with this update, because, you know, say you go to the same sandwich shop all the time and it's great, and then suddenly it just starts. They bring out a new sandwich and it's always bad. Every time you ask to change it and put something new in it, you know, chef does what you said. That's great. He's listening to you. But if still every single time it's bad, you're gonna stop going there, aren't you? It just feels like if there's one more bad update, they're gonna lose a big chunk of that fan base. But the problem is there's no competitor. So with that's why it's exciting with FIFA and EA Sports FC, because with them and FIFA splitting, it sort of adds an automatic competitor for each. So in the future, there could be a time where you think, oh, FIFA's not really good, or EA Sports FC isn't doing very well. I'll try out this game instead. And I think the companies also know, like EA, for example, with FIFA currently, they know there's no competition. So a lot of people who would moan about the game after an update would still then go play it for the next few months until the next one.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, I think, because there is no competition. People will continue to moan about the game, but they'll still play it at the end of the day because there's nothing else to play.
Yeah, and that's some more comments. Sorry, Matt.
I was just gonna say that's kind of a sad way to sort of be, isn't it? But it happens with all big games that don't have competitors, like NBA 2K, like no competitor there, and the same thing happens and I guess with the FIFA stuff, it's like there's uncertainty because there's this split, but there's also like an underlying tone of excitement of what could happen, what could be possible. Yeah. And that's always exciting until it gets released, and then all your options are terrible.
Exactly, because right now, because like Nathan said there, with all these games coming out football wise, it'll be really interesting to see how that splits, because right now all you have is FIFA, so everyone plays FIFA. As in in a few years' time, it could be really evenly split between 4 games, and I think that will make each game so much better as well, because every company will be like, right, we actually have competition, we've got to make our game good, and I'm excited to see how that goes. But with Warzone's matter, they need competition. I feel like players need competition for that game, not so they can find a new game, just because I feel like it'll make Warzone think, okay, we need to improve our game properly this time. And they'll like Matt said earlier, it might be a case of one major update where they just take it off for a while. As embarrassing as that is, I feel like all the players would really want that. They'd rather not play it for a while.
I would certainly respect them for doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
For going.
I think
we made a terrible game. We're gonna try. We're gonna try again.
It's all
yeah.
good them listening to the feedback and taking it on board. But if every time they then do an update and the feedback they've taken on board is done poorly and executed badly, it's disappointing, and you're letting down your fan base every single time. I think. So
I will say,
yeah.
Sorry, Lewis. Competition
right. No,
breeds creativity. And what I will say about that is that eFootball, when that launched, that was a game you had to buy. Yeah. And it was so poorly received that they made it a free-to-play game that was updated on a almost monthly basis with not new rosters and everything. And if anything, it's got less popular since they did that. Because
I think, again, that's a case of sort of what Matt said earlier about taking it away. They've sort of seen that it didn't do well on launch. It was poorly executed. And now they're taking it away and going, right, we need to put it out when it's ready and make a good game. Yeah. So when that comes out, it could be much better. But then it's that reputation, isn't it? Because it would launch so badly, people are going to go, wow, I want to play that. So you got to build it up again. But my favorite game that I play all the time is FIFA. Say EA Sports FC comes out, it's awful, really bad. I would much prefer them just to take it off, for a few months and then come back with a major update. We've done all these changes. We've all listened to you and have a good game then. And I feel like the whole community of whatever game you're playing in that matter would do the same.
Yeah. We've got a few comments, so I'll read them out. Adam L, back again in the chat. Never considered Fortnite as it was always that game that kids play. But when you try it, it feels so damn good to play and a blast roasting your mates when they fail. Yeah, I had a blast, to be honest, on Fortnite. And that's a good point about a game that kids play. I do feel like there's not that crossover between Fortnite and Warzone. There wouldn't be that crossover if Warzone was a good game to play. People wouldn't be playing it because it is a lot different. Dave as well says, was a Warzone player, now playing Fortnite and Apex. That's really interesting. He also says, waiting on X Defiant, which is, I know, an FPS game that's coming out. Tom Lynch is also in the chat. He says, Apex, that has hooked me after teaching Warzone. Yeah, Apex is an interesting one because Apex is so different in terms of mechanics and the way you've got like special powers and things to Warzone. It's such a different game. It's hard to compare the two. And then you've got things like Dead Drop as well, which obviously Dr. Disrespect, his game that's coming out. We've seen a few little snapshots around that, and that looks very basic compared to some other games. So
the thing with Dead Drop though is like they're involving the community. They're involving the who will be players really early on, and they're basically going, what do you want? And then the community go, we want this, and they go, okay, cool. What do you think about this? And then they try it and they go, oh, we don't like that bit. And they go, cool. And then they come back and they're doing it the way that we all wish that everyone would do it. Which is what will, if when it's launched it does become a big success, will be the contributing factor to its success, is that they purely went off of feedback when making the game, rather than we've made a game, what do you think? They're going, we've made this little bit, what do you think about that? And then they sort of go from there. And I do feel like the Warzone community in general, whether we will admit it or not, we're all waiting for a competitor. We're all waiting for somebody to compete with Warzone. Fortnite is an option if you don't want to play Warzone anymore. But it's not a competitor to Warzone, like in my mind, because I mean, it has to be now by default because a lot of Warzone players have started playing it. But in terms of the game, it's not the same style. It's not the same sort of game. The only things they have in common is that it's battle royale. It's last man standing. That's the only similarity. And it's the same with Apex. It's a completely different game. It's not a replacement for or a competitor for
same
Warzone,
with Overwatch and Valorant.
They're not the same games. Like
you have to adapt. And if you just play Warzone and you went on to Apex Legends, there's so much adaptation involved in how you have to adapt to that game.
yeah, how like you need to is the learning curve is steep, and that's cool, like because the learning curve is steep if you've never played Warzone before and you want to start playing it, but like they're not competitors in that way, in that same way. So we're waiting for like just somebody to basically bring out a good like battle royale resurgence game that is within the realm of looking like and feeling like a sort of Warzone or Call of Duty style game.
Yeah.
Probably back at like similar to what everyone was hoping Battlefield would be when that came out, Battlefield 2042 I should say, and it just didn't hit the mark. But I remember being so excited that like, oh, this could be like the thing to sort of like pick up the slack that was annoying people about Warzone at that time. Didn't work. We're still waiting for that one competitor to be able to either force Warzone to be more creative and make better changes or a better game, or to take over completely. We hoped it with Tarkov as well, and it's just but it's not the same. It's not the same sort of game, and it's just we're just never getting. We're always hoping and never getting the thing, and that's what's frustrating about the whole situation.
Warzone 2 update has just automatically started downloading. It's 32 gigabytes. So I'll leave that in the background. Hopefully it won't interrupt my connection. Please let me know if it does. If you pop your thoughts in the chat. Just on that on the competition versus creativity thing. I know Jasmine isn't here today, but I wish she was, because but I know, Matt, we've talked about in the past about competition with graphics cards. When we first started getting involved in the gaming community a couple of years ago, Nvidia's graphics cards were the only ones to buy, right?
Yeah,
like they're just the 30 series. If you wanted a graphics card, you go out and buy Nvidia. AMD were a laughing stock. Intel didn't exist, whatever. Since then, Intel have launched the Arc series. AMD have got their act together with the 7900 XT and the XTX that has outperformed some of the 30 series cards and matched some of the higher end cards as well. Intel's Arc cards have got so good with patches that people are actually preferring them over Nvidia cards in certain games at 1080p because they just run better. Today, Nvidia launched the 4070 graphics card. Do you want to have a guess what the price is of that, Matt?
Oh, well, I want to say that they're still
bear in mind
riding on their ego.
Yeah, the 4090 is around 1200, 1100 at the moment.
I think they're still riding on their ego. Probably like 1800.
The 4070.
Oh wait, no, I was thinking I was at 2 below the 49. I'd probably 899,
599,
599.
It's £100 more than what the 3070 was released about 2 years ago. But when you look at inflation, that's not too bad.
It's pretty competitive.
And you think, from Nvidia, you feel if AMD
they would have charged 899 if there was no one else around.
That's the point, though, isn't it? The competition has forced Nvidia to lower the prices because they have to, because otherwise no one will buy it. Because there's real competition. If you look at some of the benchmarks, some of the reviews have come out. The 4070 matches the 3080 in benchmarks for a lower price. So when you look at that, and it does match some of the, I think it matches or is around the XTX, which is 999, and the XT is 899. So if you look at like the figures, just if you look at what's happened in the hardware space, if we think of Nvidia as a Call of Duty, if there was X-Defiant and Dead Drop, all of a sudden you'd be seeing Activision go, you know what, we need to do something about this. We need to actually like put, not that they don't put effort in anymore, but it might just lead to that creative spark that they need. But it does feel like Dead Drop. They have people from Halo, from Call of Duty.
Yeah.
They have people who know the industry. I've seen some of the gameplay, looks pretty good. You feel that they are.
I feel like they're onto something. It's just going to be a while until they can prove whether or not they can be a solid competitor or not. Because like I say, everything is like pre alpha. It's not even like we're not even at a stage where we could even tell, like,
Yeah.
you know, unless you were an early adopter and signed up to their, you know, their founders program thing. But yeah, we're waiting for that competition, and it's just, that's what I find the most frustrating. Is every day I think I do a little like Hail Mary sort of search just to see if there's anything else about that I could play. And I've found a couple of games that I think are really good, really promising. Like Shatterline is a game that I really, really enjoy playing for short periods of time, only because there aren't many modes. Like it's just a multiplayer game, and multiplayer gets stale really quickly. They need to add, if they added like a small resurgence for, like, you know, mode to Shatterline, it could really blow up, because Shatterline is like an amalgamation of Apex and Call of Duty, like, together. And
is that the one you did a TikTok on Mirror Gaming?
It feels, what, recently?
Yeah.
No, that's a game that's, I don't think it's out yet. It's called Off the Grid, that one.
Okay.
But Shatterline is like the guns feel like, and the guns feel like Call of Duty guns, and the movement feels more like Apex. And there's a few other little bits that make it its own thing as well. But if someone's come along and gone, right, let's mix that with that, and we're going to get something half decent, and they've done it. And what I do appreciate is they've kept it simple. It's still an infant game. It's not been developed for very long. So, you know, that they could end up like really bulking that out, and it could end up blowing up. But I mean, if they added a couple more modes that I like playing, I would probably be exclusively playing that game in terms of like my favorite FPS game at the moment. And then Warzone would have to do a lot to try and get me back in.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's always something lacking in other games that just, you don't get that Call of Duty like feel from.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Got Dave in the comments. Why would I buy a 4070 when you can get a top end AMD card for £300 more?
Maybe you don't have £300 more.
Well, that's the thing. But also,
it's a good reason, right?
Also, I'm just going to share my screen. Dave, this is why. Because the 4070 gets you 99 frames at 1440p in extreme preset with no ray tracing. The 6800 XT, the 7900 XT gets you 163 frames for 300 quid. But if you actually look at the 1% lows, there's only about 30 frames in it, 1% lows. So you're talking like 10 frames per £100. Is that really worth it? I don't know.
Yeah. If you're really into FPS games, yeah, that's worth it.
Probably, yeah. Okay, Dave. Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. So yeah, thanks, Dave.
But incredibly competitive. Like, yes. I'm surprised. I am surprised.
It matches, if not beats, the 3080 in a lot of titles.
It becomes an option for things like if you're currently running like a, you know, if you're currently running like an old, you want to swap out for a new NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Graphics card, and it now becomes a viable option, rather than you going, well, maybe I'll switch to AMD. You're like, oh, okay, well, this is kind of around that price point. Yeah. I'm going to get that one because it's an upgrade to what I've currently got, and it's only a couple hundred quid more, and I can increase the quality of my gaming experience. You know, that's who's going to buy it.
Yeah,
more likely than anyone. They've priced it there to keep themselves in that. Just to keep probably NVIDIA graphics cards users that are looking to upgrade, to keep them as NVIDIA customers.
Yeah, well, I was looking at 3070 Ti's, and they're going on eBay for like 450 quid. The price of them are going to come down a lot. Yeah. Which also helps, you know, if you can grab a 3070 for like 300, 200 quid, like that's a bargain. Like if you look,
we're close to that era of being able to build like really cheap really good PCs again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like we have gone off topic, but
Yeah, a little bit.
that is. I wish Jasmine was here because she'd be really excited about the 4070. But I'm sure we'll pick up that next week potentially. Want to move on to our next topic, which will be a quick one because Scott's not here and I'm the only one who plays Fortnite. But let's have a bit of fun with it. Fortnite's latest crossover is Attack on Titan. So there's been a few skins released to crossover with the popular anime series. Just looking at some of the biggest ever Fortnite crossovers, I was having a look earlier on. They've done crossovers with the likes of Star Wars, Rick and Morty, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Ariana Grande. You could get an Ariana Grande skin. LeBron James is in the game. You could get Harry Kane, Arcane League of Legends, Naruto, and obviously Dragon Ball as well. You can play. Yes, Scott, I did mention Dragon Ball Z, all right? I was coming to it. God, he doesn't give me a second. Goku, yes, I know, Scott. Yes. To be honest, I think Dragon Ball Z is probably... Yeah, and Wu-Tang as well, Dave. I think Goku's probably my favourite crossover just because of, how iconic that is. But, like, at this point, it feels like they've done so many crossovers. I just want to put it out to you and to Lewis and Matt. What crossovers would you want to see that would make you boot at Fortnite? Think of some of the crossovers they could do.
I'd love a Ted Lasso crossover.
Oh,
Red Dwarf.
Red Dwarf. You know what?
I want a Red Dwarf. Red Dwarf crossover would make me actually probably go and play it. But that speaks to my age.
No, but I mean that's not even that ridiculous. Like if you look at some of the Fortnite crossovers, that have been impossible.
I to be honest, like they're probably out of all the crossovers they've done, I've been absolutely interested in none of them. That's just my sort of experience. I play Fortnite a little bit, but my issue is more that I'm just too good at it. I keep winning, and that's just a problem because it becomes boring.
Maybe because you get bot lobbies because you've got such a new account.
I think it's because I haven't reached that level yet. No, I think with crossovers, I've never really had that desire to be like, oh, there's a Superman crossover. I really want to play as Superman.
Play as the character is a big thing.
Yeah, but because they look like cartoons, it doesn't feel like the character. Like that's where my issue. There's a level of separation there. Whereas when you're playing as Bruce Willis in Warzone,
or Messi,
I feel like I'm being Bruce Willis, right?
Or Messi as well.
Yeah, but Bruce Willis is like fitting to it fits. Like Messi is. I mean, I don't know how many. I can't speak for him, but I don't know how many like wars he's been in personally.
I mean, like the World Cup is a war. He had literal bodyguards in the World Cup defending him. So,
I mean, that's a stretch, but I think that's a bit of a disrespect to war.
Probably.
But
have you seen some of the tackles he has to ride?
That's my issue. Is there's a level of separation because of the graphics because
the style of the game. Yeah.
So I've never been interested in those. But if I saw a Dave Lister or a Crichton in there, or a cat, or the cat from Red Dwarf, or Rimmer, I would definitely be maybe logging on and just to like those would be the first skins that I'd be like, you know what, I'm gonna get them.
Yeah.
Or I'd like The Office, like Prison Mike from The Office
would be good.
Prison Mike with the bandana and everything. That'd be
with the purple bandana on. Yeah,
absolutely. Dave's in the chat. They need a Simpsons one. I feel like they've done. Have they not done?
It feels like they should have done it. If they haven't,
Scott, if you're still in the chat, can you let us know? Because
that's like most of those ones you'd assume they would have done because it's such a big thing.
Scott also says Ted Lasso was leaked for multiverses at one point. Obviously, that's now shut down. But that's it. And Ted Lasso is in FIFA as well, which is interesting. FIFA 23.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just go for something ridiculous like Gordon Ramsay or something. Like,
I go for like
Big
the
Brother,
fancy.
so funny.
You know, like
What if we
the,
just did celebrity chefs, like Gary
James
Rhodes,
Martin.
James Martin,
He's just
I
got
would-
butter as his
Gordon
weapon.
Ramsay.
James Martin.
the Dolmio family,
Jamie
the
Oliver.
Afros.
The Dolmio family's a good
Dolmio
shout.
family. Yeah.
Gino DeCampo.
Yeah, like let's just do celebrity chefs across the board.
That
I
sounds
think-
good.
I think that would be good. I think
Jamie Oliver.
that might if Ainsley
the-
Harriott was in there, I think I'd go for an Ainsley Harriott.
Imagine
Ready, steady,
Heston
cook.
Blumenthal, like what weapons he could cook up with, like concoctions.
Yeah,
That'd be really interesting.
like
But
a gingerbread house made out of old biscuits or something. Well, and that's
Yeah.
how you make gingerbread houses, isn't it? That was
Probably.
that was
I
a terrible
don't know.
example. I'm sorry.
yeah, I don't know. Scott still hasn't replied. Please, Scott, if you're there, has there been a Simpsons crossover? Confirm yes or no.
Has
please,
there been a
if you're
Shrek crossover?
I was just about to say that. That could be interesting. I'd like to play as Donkey. I don't know how you could do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can play as a character with
I mean,
4 legs, but
Shrek
Blackadder.
5 is-
I'd like a
Shrek
Blackadder.
5
I
is
want like
rumoured, so-
old. I want old
Mr.
like,
Bean.
TV series, like classic TV series crossovers.
Yeah, that'd be
Blackadder,
amazing.
Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
I like The Office. But the UK version.
Oh, right. Okay.
yeah.
You go for David Brent, would you?
Yeah.
Ah, I see. Okay, cool.
Although the American version is probably more fitting to Fortnite in terms of
Probably.
the sort of style.
Probably. Our chat slowed down a bit, so if there's any skins that you want to see, I don't know if we've sent people away, we've annoyed them with our chef chat, but if you've got any skins that you want to see in Fortnite, let us know in the comments. Dave said Ted Lasso is such a shout. Yeah, I think I agree. Really like that shout. But yeah, let us know in the comments. And Scott, if you are listening, I presume you're busy doing something else, like being at work, for example. But if you are listening, just let us know in the comments if there has been a Simpsons crossover. While we go on to our next topic, which is that Nintendo wants to subpoena Discord to find out who leaked its Zelda Tears of the Kingdom art book. This is quite a serious topic, but if you bear with me, I'll explain the details of what's happening. So this is from VGC reporting this. So in February, someone posted images on Reddit under the username Just Julian, and on Discord as Julian, and then hashtag some numbers, claiming that a friend had sent them an interesting look at its art book. They then appeared to post images of the collection edition of the game, which has the art book included with it, and leaked some of the details. But Nintendo has now subpoenaed Discord to find out who Julian is.
Have they subpoenaed them or have they just applied?
Torrent Freak reports that on April the 4th, Nintendo filed an application for a DMCA subpoena at a district court in California. The application, if granted, would order Discord to disclose the identity, including the name, addresses, phone numbers, and email addresses of the user who is responsible for posting infringing content that appeared on the Discord channel in question. This seems like a big thing to happen. If anyone's watching, if you are thinking of leaking something, Nintendo, don't bother. I know they come across as a nice family company, but they will come after you if you leak their stuff. They take that very, very seriously. How do we feel about this?
I think it's fair enough. I think it poses a lot of problems for Discord, like in terms of like them being able to keep their users' data like safe, even if it is. But I think most people would agree if someone's done something and it's not, it wasn't supposed to have been done, and the consequence of that is they get in trouble with Nintendo, so like into legal trouble with Nintendo. And the way that has to happen is Discord need to tell them who leaked it, the details of who leaked it. Then to me, in my mind, like there's no one else, there's no one to blame in that scenario other than the person that leaked it. Like I I appreciate that people do leak things, and that can be a big part of the news cycle and news chain and whatnot. But it's kind of like tough. Like you shouldn't have done it then. I kind of that's my sort of shorthand opinion of it, really.
Yeah, I mean, Lewis, we know all about leaks with FIFA.
Yeah.
There's a lot of accounts on social media that have followings because they leak things. And could this open a can of worms potentially if this application gets approved and Nintendo are able to get this information and to sue this individual? Could other games companies look at this and be like,
I think
okay,
definitely. I think with FIFA's case, for example, EA, if they saw Nintendo do this and then they were successful in doing it, leaking is such a problem with FIFA. It'll be, a few days before the game, next promo comes out, every single player, every stat, every SBC, every objective, every pack that's coming out, absolutely everything. And now there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of accounts that have the access to these leaks somehow. You have accounts now that are just starting with like 100 followers, and they're completely correct when they're leaking, the team of the week 2 days in advance, because they're also getting access. So obviously it's very easily accessible. Don't know how. But if there's a way for them to, do the same with like Twitter, for example, or if people are posting leaks on Discord, I feel like they would go down that route. And I think, like Matt mentioned, this could become a big problem for Discord as well, because I feel like a lot of things would be leaked on there, games wise. So Discord will have dozens of companies coming to them asking them, we need access to this personal data, this data. And then, like Matt said, that how do they then promise and protect their users of their data?
I think that's the most interesting thing in this. What will Discord's, if this application gets approved or granted,
how will they go about releasing that information?
Yeah, because I think Apple have refused to cooperate with law enforcement before. I know it's a slightly different thing, but they've refused to cooperate with law enforcement to unlock someone's iPhone before because of how much they talk about security on their device. I know it's a different thing, but it'll be interesting to see how Discord handle this and whether
it's just. I guess it might come, if like the more technical you start looking into it, it might come down to like where the servers are located, where the data's stored, if it's inside the if this is like a US application, if it's stored outside of the US, and Discord is not, like, they're not under obligation because they physically cannot, because the information you're asking for resides outside of that country. There might be like some like sort of loophole there, but Discord is essentially a community of private servers. Like that people, like myself, like have like little Discord servers with people in that me as the server owner is responsible for those people, really,
like
to an extent, in terms of moderating it, in terms of making and that poses a massive issue if Discord could just come in and just like take whatever, because I see my server as not belonging to Discord. But like technically, it will really lift the sort of engine hood on how Discord really works in terms of who owns what, because the way that it's set up does make you feel like this is mine. Discord have given me this and this is mine. So if they can just come into any server, any person's server, and just take whatever they want and then give it to an external company, and then that company can sue that person, then that's a problem for Discord. So how they deal with it in that respect is going to be really, really important and quite interesting to watch. It's certainly going to hurt like their share price if they're public.
We can't, obviously, we're not giving financial advice on shares.
No, I'm not. But like, it's going to hurt the reputation of their company in that respect.
Potentially,
So like you just can't. I can't think of how they would be able to deal with it unless there was some sort of loophole, like all the data is stored on servers that aren't within this country. So
yeah.
So that's it's difficult, I think, for them. But in terms of the person, I think there's nothing wrong with Nintendo saying we want the information of the person that illegally leaked our copyrighted material.
And it's 3 months before it was supposed to be released as well, which makes it a little bit different as well with FIFA. Because it might affect, they can argue, it might affect the sales of the game if people, all that kind of stuff. Got Adam in the chat. People will just use fake details on their discount accounts going forward. Yeah, but there's other ways that they can find out where you are, IP addresses and such, and then obviously if you use a VPN, but then they'll just go to the VPN company and they'll probably hand it over as well. So there are ways. Yeah, exactly. So that there's only a certain amount of protections you can use. Skyrifter says heading back to TeamSpeak if the subpoena goes through. And then they also say mirror trading live stream. We're not giving financial advice at all on that. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what Discord do with this. I'm not surprised at all that Nintendo are going after them because it's a huge release. They're very secretive about what comes out. We'll just have to see what happens in that aspect and whether EA Sports, what they do. It'll be really interesting with their new game if they have any, because we got our first look at the logo last week, right? Oh, was it this week? Earlier on this week? The new logo?
I think it was last week.
Last week.
Last week. I am very surprised that wasn't leaked.
Yeah.
So
because you heard nothing about that at all.
Yeah, that seems to me like they've potentially found the there's obviously someone inside feeding information about Ultimate Team potentially. It seems like the team that has made the logo obviously watertight because that logo hasn't come out. So it'll be interesting to see moving forward with EA Sports FC how they manage with these leaks and things, because I think it's getting to the point now, Lewis, like you said, that every promo, we know what's coming, just takes the enjoyment out of it. There's of people hate around
anything.
Yeah. No, because you know what's coming, right?
And
it's like spoiling a TV show before you watch it. Yeah.
But it spoils the market as well. But say there's a player coming out who's from Croatia and plays in the Italian league. Anyone who links to him, because that's very niche, is in a rising price because people will be waiting for that card to come out going, okay, so when I get him, I'll have this guy ready. And then it's a way of making profits and stuff. So
people know what they're going to do before they're going to do it. And that's like a problem because it affects like the gameplay, it affects the experience because
it manipulates it.
Yeah, and there's no curve to like people figuring it out in the game by playing it, whichever game it might be.
What I also noticed as well is that with FIFA, a lot of the big leakers also have like trading groups. It could be a case of they in that trading group might mention beforehand, this person's coming out on a promo, which means this person's an open price. Invest in him now. In a week's time, you'll be making coins there because he's worth more. And like they again, that's just them using the leaks in their own personal gain.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see how they deal with that. And leaks is leaks will always be a huge problem with games. We saw that with GTA 6, the leaks that came out with that, and obviously Rockstar will be doing some legal action against. I believe they already have actually with the legal stuff around that. So it's not uncommon. It'll always happen, but it's just interesting to see how companies deal with that as well. Just on Nintendo before we go, there will be a new Tears of the Kingdom trailer tomorrow, 3 p.m. BST on the Nintendo UK YouTube account. I really want to do a reaction live stream with Aaron and Scott tomorrow, so keep an eye on the Mirror Gaming YouTube channel. That might be coming tomorrow because I'm desperate to see more of the game because I'm not fully convinced yet. Scott is very angry
after that last trailer.
Yeah, Scott's very angry with me that I'm not convinced, but Scott, I'm not convinced. All right, so yeah, I don't want to just buy the same game. I've already played Breath of the Wild. I enjoyed it, but I want an experience. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out with that. So keep an eye on our YouTube tomorrow. Also, the plan, I believe, Matt, as well, is that for us to stream the new season tomorrow. So get warmed up tonight. Get back into the groove.
Best.
Get back into the groove,
best.
and we'll get.
I haven't played
tomorrow.
duos for a long time.
Yeah.
We're doing your gameplay this time though, so that I'm not stuck in the menus for half an hour.
Obviously, yeah. No, that'll be really interesting. I'm really interested to use the new sniper as well. Really excited about that, the intervention. So
I'm gonna have to try as well. Like I don't snipe. I've never really sniped, but I'll have to try it out and see if it brings any more or less joy to me.
That's it. If you're having fun, that's all that matters, isn't it?
Exactly.
And on that note, we've had a lot of fun today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Whether you're on Facebook, on YouTube, or TikTok, we really appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much, everyone, for the comments. If you like the video, please drop a like and subscribe and hit that bell notification for when we go live again. And why not check out our other videos? We've done some great live streams, some great videos over the last couple of days, last couple of weeks and months as well. So check that out. But we will see you next week with the walkthrough, same time, same place, 4 p.m. BST every Wednesday for the latest gaming news. But for now, I've been Nathan, and I've been joined by Matt, Lewis, and Scott. And we'll see you next week.